article today is hot off the press. It's hyper-local for those of us here in Sonoma County, California. The article is from our local newspaper, the Press Democrat. And without further ado, declining cannabis prices drive proposal to reduce Sonoma County cultivation tax. Sonoma County may reduce cannabis cultivation tax rates due to declining prices. The changes are in response to market pressures and aim to support the struggling industry while addressing funding challenges for the county's cannabis program. Reduced tax rates may be in store for struggling cannabis cultivators and manufacturers in unincorporated Sonoma County, driven in part by decreasing prices affecting the industry. County officials on Tuesday will recommend the Board of Supervisors approve new tax rates based on a model that would reduce the tax burden for most cannabis growers. Under the proposal, the cultivation tax will be reduced from 75 cents per square foot to 69 cents per square foot for outdoor cultivation, $3 per square foot to $2.51 per square foot for mixed light cultivation, and $12.50 per square foot to $7.58 for indoor cultivation. The tax rate for manufacturers would drop from 3% to 1.5%. Wow. Retailers would see an increase from 2% to 3%. That's a 50% jump for you mathematicians. A proposed change comes as the county sees a decline in the number of cultivators, dwindling prices driven in part by a glut of product and competition from large-scale growers, and a projected long-term decrease in industry-driven revenue for its cannabis programs. The reason for the revised tax rate is to remain responsive to market changes and whatever those market changes entail, said McCall Miller, the county's cannabis program coordinator. The county's cannabis tax revenue is projected to decrease from $1.6 million this fiscal year to $1.4 million in fiscal year 24 to 25. Factoring in departmental costs, the county's long-awaited environmental impact study, launched in mid-2021 to streamline permitting and other costs, the program's end balance is expected to decrease from about $3.7 million this fiscal year to about $2 million by the fiscal year 26-27, according to a staff presentation. In light of these declining funds, departments are adjusting staffing and how they can use funds available in the program, Miller said. The industry has struggled to compete with the illicit cannabis market that has undercut legal cultivation in price and fueled the supply glut. The recommended tax rate changes are based on the results of an annual analysis completed by HDL Companies, a consultant based in Brea, California, that yours truly, Mr. Krubrin, thinks are as instrumental in the problems in California as any other entity could be. The review found that the average price per pound for indoor cannabis decreased dramatically from $1,230 in 2023 to $606. The change in price is likely connected to large operations undercutting smaller operations, Miller said. The study also found that the average price for outdoor cannabis products decreased from $308 to $277, according to a staff report. The proposal comes after the state in 2022 eliminated its cultivation tax for growers. Sonoma County in 2023 also revised its tax rates, reducing the rate for outdoor growers, but raising it for indoor cultivation. The move comes under mounting pressure from cannabis industry representatives who pressed for greater relief from taxes and fees they said were squeezing smaller operators out of the business or into the illicit market. Still, Sonoma County is seeing a decline in cannabis cultivators, Miller said. There are 5 manufacturers, 6 retailers, and 75 cannabis cultivators in unincorporated Sonoma County, according to Miller. Pay attention to this. In 2023, there were 155 cultivators operating in unincorporated Sonoma County, which means that Sonoma County has seen a reduction to its cultivators in the unincorporated areas by more than half in a single year. Dropping prices may be one of the factors driving out cultivators. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. You're right, Miller. But she added that some cultivators have also said the county's permitting process and backlog of applications is another factor. I'm going to read that again because it's the most important sentence in the entire article. The county's permitting process and backlog of applications is another factor. We've been told by operators that it's easier in other places, Miller said. She could not confirm the number of applications in the backlog by deadline Monday. So this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Tuesday morning, bringing you a hyper-local article that's important and near and dear to my heart. I'd like to hear what my other guests have to say and what they think.
They should have did away with the cultivation tax a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
Yeah, the cultivation tax, there's no need for the cultivation tax. It's a worthless tax that just causes the prices to go up for the end consumer. There's no reason for it, and there is no other agricultural commodity that is taxed like that.
Could we put up the graphic that I sent in that shows the relative difference in tax rates on a pre-roll from a glass of wine? I sent that over to you and you, Jason, and also to Adam. If we could just put that up for a second. I like to say that words tell, but pictures sell. And if we can see that infographic here for a second,
I think it's working on that. There we go.
I think it says more than anything I could ever say, right? I love our wine industry. I love a good Pinot. Give me some Cab with my steak. I am having a great time. But let's look at this for a second. We've got 1 cent tax on a nice pour of my favorite grape. We've got a 2-cent tax on beer. Remember, the best beer in the world comes from Sonoma County. That's Pliny the Younger, not open to debate. Really? We've got our liquor at 4 to 8 cents.
I know some Germans who can negate that immediately. Just saying.
Yeah, well, they should get back to figuring out how they can have legal cannabis at their events and keep making some decent cars.
Yarrow, that's one of my next stories.
I know. That's why I let in with that. That was not by coincidence. Okay. We've got 4 to 8 cents for a shot. We've got 14 cents for a smoke of cigarette. And then we've got 80 to 90 cents tax on a pre-roll. And so when we talk about tax relief and they're raising the tax on retail, just like the last time they had tax relief, they raised the tax on other manufacturing entities. And when we have HDL, which has single-handedly been responsible for some of the most malformed policy in California and continues to get paid exorbitant consulting fees to guide us down the wrong path, we look at these taxes, we understand that modest tax reform doesn't move the needle. What it allows policymakers to say is that they've provided tax relief. But if the tax relief isn't tangible, isn't substantial, doesn't move the needle, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound.
What do you think? What do you think about this, Rico? Because I think the taxes are just ridiculous, just in general, and so anything that removes taxes, I'm
taxation
all
is
supportive.
theft.
Yes,
and especially, I mean, cannabis is not federally legal, and if you want to take the states' rights argument here, like it protects your local businesses, and take away these taxes that are hampering their ability to remain solvent.
The thing that bothers me the most is that Sonoma County has this...
It grinds Yarrow's gears.
Yes.
It grinds my gears, but let me tell you why. Sonoma County is the birthplace of modern agriculture. Luther Burbank, who was motivated by the Irish potato famine, was the James Brown, the godfather of modern ag. And it is in no small measure why the Central Valley of California is the breadbasket of the nation. And so we have a long, illustrious, storied history of being a massive contributor to agriculture in general. And there are operators in this region, and there are cultivars from this region that have been optimized based on the soils and the climates. We have soil here that you can't find anywhere else in the world that includes fossilized plankton from the Laguna de Santa Rosa, having been an inland ocean that eventually receded. And to understand that at some point on the world stage, we may not have the culture, the cultivars, the operators to be able to showcase what has already arguably had such an oversized influence in the past from this region is very sad. The only equivalent I can think of is watching these poor little polar bears on these melting ice caps wither and die because the culture, the know-how, just the genetics that were really optimized in these hills and in these regions, we really have a chance of becoming irrelevant 20 years from now, whereas 20 years before today, we were incredibly relevant.
I think there's a huge opportunity being missed by Republicans, Tea Party Republicans, especially because they're all in office now. They're missing the mark on this. This is an easy win for them to just rally around the cannabis community. No taxation without representation. Yep. Shout out to that. I saw that in the chat just now.
I agree with no
your people, Jason.
Cute, Rico. What were you gonna say, Todd?
I was just gonna say that Anytime that taxes are reduced is a good thing. But the fact that they're reducing it from the grower and adding it to the retail, I mean, what is the point?
It's half-assed backwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the consumer in the long run that gets killed by all of these taxes.
Yes,
and it's the cultivators who have to pay a grow tax.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the perception that the cannabis industry just racks and stacks cash all the time is just a misnomer. I mean, I don't know anybody who got rich in the cannabis industry. Do you?
Not in the industry.
Yes. The taxing
Oh, yeah,
authority and the permitting authorities, some people have gotten rich.
I know
code enforcement has done well by this.
Well, I know a whole bunch of lawyers that have gotten rich off of this.
Exactly.
That's for sure.